What's up, guys? Welcome back to Noise Pollution, the weekly live rock show from Spin. As most of you know, I'm Josh, and this entire show is live, raw, unedited, and I'll probably screw it up at least once. We've got a very, very special show for you today. We've got a great guest. Most of you already know who it is, and I know you know who it is because my social media has been blowing up about it ever since yesterday. It's Frank Iero. You may know him from My Chemical Romance, Leathermouth, Death Spells, or his current band, Frank Iero and the Future Violence. They put out a new EP a few weeks ago called Heaven is a Place, This is a Place. We're here to talk about that, much more, and answer your questions. So if you have a question in the Twitch chat that you didn't get a chance to ask on Instagram, make sure that you tag my lovely producer, Matt, who is there in the Twitch chat under the name Permanent Magikarp. He should be waving his arms right about now, and he will make sure that I see it. If you don't tag him, he probably will not send that to me. Without further ado, let's welcome Frank. Frank, how's it going?
Going pretty well. Going all right. How you doing, man?
Oh,
Thanks for
not too
having
bad.
me.
Of course, glad to have you. And as I just mentioned, you put out a great new EP a few weeks ago. What was that like? And obviously, people at home have already had the chance to listen to it. But what would you say about it, or what should they take out of it?
Well, I think first off, I think I'm just excited to have something come out during all this craziness. It was kind of touch and go to see like how things were going to be able to work and to what capacity I was going to be able to release something or put some work into it. And kind people over at Unified were really amazing to work with, and as was Steve Ebbets, who helped me finish the recording. And I'm psyched to have it actually see the light of day, because I feel like it gives really good insight as to the world of the Future Violence, and I feel like it bookends that portion of the project so well.
Absolutely. And tell me a little bit, what was it like to put this whole thing out in the middle of a pandemic, and to release it when you can't tour on it, you can't do in-person promotion, you're basically stuck here doing Zooms like this.
Right, yeah. It's weird, man. It's weird that you can only do the thing that you hate to do. You know what I mean? Like, so it's strange. Like, all you want to do is play shows and to perform these songs in front of people, like, in the same room as people, and you're stuck kind of, talking on a video phone. And if I were to rank, like, like my number one fears, it'd be like spiders, poop that's been thrown up, and Zoom calls. I think are my big three. So
those are three terrifying things. I think equally terrifying things. Yeah. And you've obviously put out so much music over the years and worked with so many different people. And what really makes this EP stand out to you, and what makes it kind of different from some of the things you've done in the past?
Well, I love working in this band. This was a band that I had dreamed about putting together for a really long time. Every member of it was handpicked from people that I've met along the way that I just thought would be magic to write music with. And I think this EP is really unique in that you're getting the first song ever recorded together and the last song ever recorded together, and you see this evolution happen. The beauty, I think, of the Future Violence was that it came together so naturally and so organically. It wasn't manufactured in any way. I just, I would have loved, if I had to, be that puppeteer and move parts around, I would have, but I didn't need to. It was just kind of like the universe kind of made it happen. And I think that kind of stuff's really special, man. You're lucky if you get that once in a lifetime, let alone a couple. And I think it's a really great view behind the scenes, or behind the curtain rather, and I think it really does, solidify that journey of how that all came together.
Absolutely. And I'm sure you had much different plans for last year than what transpired. But at
Yeah.
the same time, I feel like this pandemic may have helped make this EP a little bit more of a priority and kind of make this come together. What was that like to completely change gears? I mean, you were planning for that giant reunion tour, and then all of a sudden that gets thrown out, and now we have an
Yeah.
EP out of it. I mean, what was that like to shift entirely to focus on this?
Well, I think at this day and age, I think everybody's kind of thinking on their toes and reinventing the way that we perceive our position, you know, in the world. So yeah, it's one of those things where you can you can kind of sink into a depression about all these best made plans and mourn the loss of the opportunities or the things that you had in store, or you can kind of like give yourself a good cry and then fucking push it to the side and be like, all right, that doesn't mean it's over, it just means it's going to happen later than expected. What do I do now? What's at my disposal? What can I make work, and what can I make out of that? It's a lot like it's a lot like making dinner for three kids every night and be like, what the fuck do we have? I don't know. There's some old spaghetti. I got marshmallows. All right, cool. We got it. Like, we're gonna make this work.
There you go. Whatever's in the fridge sometimes.
Yeah, yeah. What? No one's died yet, so we're good.
Hey, that's a great start. That's all you can expect at this point.
At this point, we're just shooting for survival. This is really what we're shooting for.
And now that the EP is out and you've had time to kind of sit on it and let it marinate and see what people think about it, what's kind of your first takeaway based on the crowd reaction and based on what you've heard from people?
I mean, the reaction's been fantastic. I mean, this has been, I would say, one of the most universally embraced projects I've had a hand in, and put out. Like, people have been calling me or texting me and stuff like that a lot, and been like, "This is my favorite thing that you've done," and it's like, "Wow, all right, that's awesome." You know what I mean? You hope for that kind of progression of things where it's like, you want the newest thing to be the best you've ever done, and I feel like this EP definitely it's going to be a memorable one. It holds a special place in my heart because of the songs that we put together and the time I think that this the EP represents, and the people that work on it, but also the time in which it was released and the hardships we had to overcome to get it out. So it's definitely a memorable one. It's definitely one that holds a special place in my heart. Is it the best I've ever done? I don't know. Is it the best I can do? I hope not. I hope I can. I hope I can keep going. But it's nice to have your work recognized, and it's nice. It feels nice inside when people are like, "I love these songs" or "I love this record." That's a great feeling.
Absolutely. And you yourself kind of went from a kid in a band to now a father of three making music. What's that been like, kind of growing up within music and kind of seeing? I'm sure at this point you can kind of look back and see yourself transition from an angry young man into this more mature songwriter and musician.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still angry. No, I feel like it's
you have to
you have to grow and evolve and change, and you can't be in the same place that you were when you started. That kind of a for lack of better words, I guess, career isn't something that interests me. I think that's the thing that I get bored with people, with artists that I enjoy. I don't like when you can put on a record from a catalog and not be able to place it. Like, oh, this could be the first record or the last record, could be the middle somewhere. They all sound pretty much the same. Like that kind of stuff doesn't appeal to me. So I like the change. I like the challenge of being a fan and taking a journey with an artist and seeing where they've gone. So I enjoy that. I feel like if I were to stay stagnant and were to keep writing the same way or keep chasing the same thing, I think I'd grow bored and want to do something else. But for me, like creating music or art in general, and writing and all that, working with different people, collaborating. It's it's such a life force for me. Like I can't not do it. You know, everything translates in some way to music for me. Whether it be like sitting on the couch watching TV with my kids, a commercial comes on, and in my head I've written a jingle for that for that product, and it's not great. I mean, it's
Right.
silly, you know what I mean? But like I constantly think in that way, much to the frustration I think of the people around me, where they're like, really, all right, frozen peas, a song about frozen peas. All right, cool, nice. Can you shut the fuck up, maybe? I'm sure there's a lot of that, but that's just what I need to do. So, Dad goes into the basement and there's a racket, and he comes up and he might have a record or something. Basically, is what happens at my house.
There you go. And in one way or another, your music has really helped people and helped teenagers in particular for the last 20 years. Really, get through kind of that hell that is middle and high school. What's that like to see not just fans that you've acquired over the years, but new fans coming in all the time and being so deeply impacted by your music and by your career?
That's an incredible feeling, you know. Especially like I feel like there's been instances where I'll be touring with say the Patients or Future Violence or even Death Spells, and you're touring and kids will come up to you and love the band that you're touring on, and not necessarily be fans of the other things that you've made, or they're fans of everything, and they've been to shows, my chem shows early on, and that's incredible. It's nice to see, maybe older fans, older siblings, like passing down records to their younger siblings or their kids. One of the craziest things too is like sometimes this has happened a few times where like a magazine will come and be like, oh, we would like to do a cover story on you and the new record, and but we can't do it this month because my chem's on the cover this month. It's a classic artist, so we're gonna do your story next month. It's like that's totally bizarre, so these are just incredible things that I don't know. I feel very lucky and very blessed to experience. It's crazy to play a show, say like with my chem in 2019, right? We did the first show back,
right?
And there's people at that show that are way too young to have ever seen the band before, or to have maybe have been around and bought that record when it came out, but they've just found out about the band now, and it's not that it means less to them than say a fan that's been there forever. It means something different, and the way that they discovered the band, they had this ownership over it, and it's really remarkable, and I can relate to that because when I was growing up, a lot of my favorite bands were dead. You know what I mean? Like I was getting into bands that was it, man. Like I didn't get to see them until I was 30 something, where the Misfits played Madison Square Garden, and that was amazing. But for the longest time, it was like I'm never gonna see the original Black Flag, and I'm not gonna see that. And I was okay with it, but it didn't make me less of a fan. And it's cool to see that happening in a very natural way with let's say like my chem fans or even fans of the newer projects I'm doing.
Absolutely. And I know I mentioned this to you already, but you've worked a lot with someone who I was a big fan of growing up, and that's James Dewey. Was someone who inspired me as a kid. I mean, I think I took maybe 3 or 4 piano lessons, and they were all exclusively because of him. What's he like to work with? You've worked with him in a few different projects now. What's that relationship like between you two?
James is a musical genius. I mean, it's unbelievable his skill set and how natural it comes to him. As does comedy, really. And it's funny how linked those two things are in his personality. I think it's more of a struggle for him to be serious than it is for him to make the entire room laugh. Um, and you know, growing up too, like that was the same for me. I remember the first Reggie tour. I saw that at CB's, you know, where he came out in the Michael Jackson jacket,
Yeah.
and you know he had the Barbie car and all that. Ultimate Fake Book, I think, was the full effect at that point.
Yeah.
You know, at that point, no one was really sure what the band was. Like, you know, if the rumor was true, was it a band that people had found? Like, did Reggie get shot? Like, what the fuck was it? And you know, and then you start to find out little by little and see him play more, and then you know see him play with the Get Up Kids, of course, and all that. And I never got to see him drum for Coalesce, but I was always a Coalesce fan. So you know, growing up, being a fan of his projects, and then eventually, you know, going on tour with him and meeting him and becoming friends, you know, lifelong friends, like that was a huge thing. And then, of course, then getting to play with him and write music with him was another, you know, mind-blowing dream come true kind of thing. And yeah, he's one of the kindest people I've ever met. He's just a sweetheart, but he happens to be a total crazy genius, you know. And yeah, he's incredible, man. He really is. Yeah, I've never met anyone like James.
I think that's probably safe to say. I was gonna say, yeah, I briefly got to meet him and interview him back when the Death Spells album came out. I think with the Taste of Chaos show or something like that, but he was there with Reggie, and I was like, wow, this guy is everything that I would have dreamed of when I was 8 years old. You
know? Yeah. He's like that borderline cartoon character.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
And he's exactly who you want him to be. I think is really
yes.
Yeah.
But I think that's the thing too, is like, you know, and I think a lot of that stems from just being like that kind of person that just wants everyone to be laughing and having a good time. Like he's very empathetic like that. Like he really wants everyone to be in on the joke and have a good time, and he likes you to be happy. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So yeah, I love him. Yeah.
Very cool. Well, we're going to take some questions from some other sources, some fans, and you know, my editor is going to actually kick it off by asking the question.
Okay.
He was the same editor who assigned me to go record shopping with you back in, I think, 2017.
All right, on.
In Anaheim, and was a big fan of that piece and how it came out. And he wants to know if you still have some of the records that you got then, or what do you miss about record shopping now that we're in a pandemic? If I remember correctly, you got the Hobbit soundtrack for a friend. And then yes. maybe Christian Death.
What was? Oh yeah. Well, Christian Death, I ended up I gave that to my brother-in-law Evan. That was his gift for I think it was his birthday, and I felt like he needed to have that record. The Hobbit soundtrack, I think I may have given to James. I think that was my present for James.
Really
I'm trying to think what else was picked up on that trip. But that was a fun little record stuff that we got to.
Yeah, I don't remember what they were. Somewhere there's photos on my Instagram from it, but I'm not going to dig that up right now. But sorry, what was that? Oh, the second part was just about what you miss about record shopping in the pandemic.
Fucking everything. I miss the dirt on your hands. You know, that like you feel disgusting touching anything afterwards.
Absolutely.
You just dug through sleeve after sleeve after box after box. I feel like my record shopping has now turned into an online treasure hunt, and I think what's helping me with that is that there's a really great like U.S. black metal scene that's happening, and it's mostly tapes, and they're very limited, and you have to like set alarms to find certain things, you know. And there's some really great artists out there that have been helping me acquire all the releases I need to get. But I gotta say, I did make my way into a record store last month, and I waited outside for a long time to make sure like no one was in there. and I had gloves,
Just like
and I had
stock it
wipes,
out.
and I had a mask. I had 2 masks on, actually. I had 2 masks. I had everything, and I appeared outside and waited for a good 10 minutes before I went in. But I went in, and what did I end up getting? I think I got like a Talking Heads record.
There you go.
I think I got like a record I already had. Just to go record shopping. I was so excited to just be in a record store.
Absolutely. Yeah. And we're gonna shift over and take some questions from Instagram now. Okay. The first one.
This is where shit gets dangerous.
You know what? I already read through a bunch of them, and we're gonna try to keep them on the straight and narrow.
Okay.
The first one comes from my friend Guitar Technician, and he wants to know, of all the kind of iconic guitars you've had over the years, what's the story of the green Epiphone Wilshire with the racing stripe that you only had for a little while, but it seemed to be everywhere during that time period?
Wow. Okay. Yeah. First, by the way, my hearing is going, so at first I definitely thought you said of all the Hanukkah cards I've gotten.
I mean, those too, yeah.
Yeah. Which are less than you would think. I mean, honestly.
I think people would send them to you if you wanted
them. Honestly, I just kind of like getting mail. It's one of those things that I really, really enjoy. I don't care what it is. Like it's opening an envelope is really fun for me. I'll sometimes buy stuff from Amazon just to open it, like shit that I could get at the store. Like anyway, coffee filters. Just so I have mail. Anyway, so that guitar is it's the emerald green Phantomatic with the mint green racing stripes, which like on paper is an ugly color combo. And funny enough, one of my least favorite colors is green, but a color that I somehow end up wearing a lot and or getting here in. So it's very strange. That started about when I was making the Phantomatic with Epiphone. We decided, it was going to be this like aged Alpine white, so it's off white cream. Love the guitar, and Cara Hogan, who worked at Epiphone, was my rep at the time, said that we should do another, like limited edition color. And I said, all right, let me think about it. I had a dream that night that I was playing this guitar, and that's what it was. It was emerald green with a mint green racing stripe, and I kind of took it as a sign and mocked it up in Photoshop the next day, sent it to her, and we made a few. I have two still, and I think I have 4 Phantomatics total, 2 of the cream and 2 greens. You don't see them in the wild very often, but they're fucking killer guitars. If you can grab one, I recommend grabbing it. I really do like mine. But as far as like the story on them, that there's that's it. Yeah.
Very cool. And then we've got some more questions that again I've made sure are okay to read.
Okay.
We have one that's, you've been in so many different bands over the years and made such amazing music. Is there a specific song or song lyric that you're especially proud of or fond of?
Well, they all have like a special place in your heart. You know what I mean? Like, some come really, really quick. Some come with a lyric in mind, a vocal melody, and a guitar part or music. And those are the ones that like, it's like a shooting star. If you can grab it, those usually end up being the best ones. But then there's ones that really make you really fight for it. There's been songs over the years that I thought I had a handle on, and ended up, you get to see you record it and you fucking hate it and go back to scratch again, and that really tests the wherewithal of a band, because people get fucking frustrated when you start doing shit like that. But I don't know. I mean, some of my favorite songs over the years, I feel like there's been favorite moments where I remember recording the chorus, my chorus part to Helena. And this is the first time we're like in a major studio, with a producer, and we're going to make like a major label record. And I remember tracking in the room with the engineer at the time. His name was Mike Plotnikoff, and it was my turn to get up. I played my guitar part, and there's that ending. It's a double chorus. You get the normal soaring like octave part, and then it switches to like another. It kind of takes a step up, right?
Right.
I have a guitar here, but you probably won't be able to hear it. Anyway, so I remember playing the entire thing, and then when the song ended, Mike, like hit the space bar, and he was like, "Wow, now that's a fucking chorus." And I remember like getting like, "Ooh, all right, I impressed somebody." You know what I mean? That was like a real great moment, and I knew that song was going to be great. So that's an amazing moment. A moment of let's see, recording recording Stomach Aches all on my own in my basement was pretty huge for me because I'd never done that before. I'd never from scratch, written 14 songs in a clip and basically recorded them all myself, with some help on drums here and there and stuff like that. But like for the most part, putting this whole thing together was quite an undertaking. And I remember feeling really fulfilled by that. And at the end of it too, I didn't think I was going to put the record out. Like I didn't think anyone was going to hear it, but just the feeling of accomplishment of making a record, was huge. Getting into the studio with Ross Robinson for Parachutes was another giant one. I think tracking guitars on that and him like really being into the way that we wrote and the rhythmic quality of it and how he felt the guitar playing was really strong and that was like a big confidence builder, and every snarky comment I ever got from Steve Albini, I think was another feather of the cap.
I mean, if you're not getting snarky comments from him, then I feel like you're doing it wrong.
Let's say that again.
That's like the best compliment he can give you is a snarky comment. Otherwise, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. He's amazing, man. I mean, I've been really lucky where I've worked with some really amazing guys or amazing artists and engineers and producers and people that have inspired me from before I started bands to bringing in music that I wrote. Like that kind of shit never gets old.
Absolutely.
Those butterflies are pretty important.
And we're going to take about 2 or 3 questions from Instagram before diving into the EP with the track by track. One of them is, what would you like to see change in the music industry post-COVID?
Oh man, that's a hard one because I feel like like there's a lot of answers where you want to see more diversity on stage, and I'd like to see smaller clubs still be open. That's a scary one, but I think the blanket answer is that I just want to see something after COVID. Like, I'm very, very fortunate where I get to be with my family, my kids, my wife, and we can kind of wait this out, and I can be in my basement and I can work remotely with some amazing musicians, some of which are friends and some of which have become friends through this kind of relationship, and that's fantastic. It's fine. It's keeping me satiated for now, but at the end of all this, I can't wait to get out there and play again. You know what I mean? Like, fuck. Like even the stuff that's you is frustrating and hard about the touring world, the thing that you don't always love, the travel of it, stuff like that, you miss.
Right.
But I'm scared for the smaller venues and smaller bands. I feel like it's going to be so much harder to find the places to play and for everyone to have a place to play. I mean, there's going to be 10 million bands trying to play at 5 places, and I think that's real scary and real awful. And some of my favorite places in the world to play, I really hope are still open when all this is said and done. But I think people are ready for it. I think people are whatever we need to do to get it back. I think people are willing to work for. I think people really do understand that, music and art isn't just about you know a luxury. It's really it's food for the soul, and I feel like people are that maybe didn't realize that before are really realizing it now, um, and um, and I think it's important, to have your artists around and your artists able to survive to provide that fuel for people's souls. So yeah, I just want to play.
Absolutely. And kind of speaking of that, the last question ties into it nicely, which is you've played some of the biggest venues and some smaller venues. What's that like to, I guess, go from playing a giant amphitheater to playing a more local club scene, depending on who you're playing with and the tour that you're on at that moment.
It's a totally different animal. You can't play an arena or a stadium like you would play, a VFW hall or a basement venue. It's not the same kind of thing. In order to connect with people on a large scale, you're talking about how do you not only connect with that front row, but you're connecting with relay towers and things of that nature. Like, some people they don't see your face at all unless they see it on a giant jumbo screen. If you're playing a giant venue like that, and if you're playing a small venue like you're staring people just directly in the eyes, and sometimes you don't even need a mic. You know what I mean? Like, so it's a different skill set. It takes a bit of a learning curve, and I think everything is going to be scary after this. after being on the sideline and just kind of hanging out in your basement for 2 years, every fucking show is going to be very, very frightening.
I mean,
and
hopefully you remember how to do it.
It's going to be weird, man. It's going to be real weird. But I think that type of stuff that scares the hell out of me, that's what I'm really excited for. I think you're going to have this excitement where people just kind of lose their minds from the second, the first note hits. And I think at that point it's just going to be about pacing yourself to try to last the entire show, small and large one. But yeah, it's totally different, man. And I feel like a lot of the things that the crowd's not thinking about have a big play in how these shows are put on and how you're able to present the show to people. The 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 goal is to James Dean everything. Like, you want to be cool without trying. You know what I mean? And it doesn't work like that.
Right.
It really doesn't. Yeah.
You have to make it seem like trying.
Say again.
So you got to make it look like you're not trying.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Yeah. Like, oh, this laser beam here. Oh, just something they had in the back. We're just gonna fuck it, give it a try. Oh, push this button. Oh, what's that? Oh, it explodes fire. Funny. I didn't even know that was there. Like, shit like that.
There you go. Very cool. Well, now we'll dive into a little bit of a track by track on the EP.
Okay.
So, if you want, I'm sure, you've put a good amount of thought into each of these songs and kind of considered each one at this point now that the album is out. What would you like people to know before they hear a little snippet of Violence?
Violence. Well, Violence was, I think, the first riff written for the record. It was written for the Barrier session, and I wrote it. I had come home from tour. Man, what tour was that? I think it was an overseas tour, and I came home, and that night that I came home from tour, I wrote the riff, and I originally wrote it in like a E flat. My standard tune is like a half step down, so I wrote it just like on an E flat standard tuning. And I thought it was kind of cool. I didn't know really what the vocal melody was going to be around it. I didn't know what the song was, but it felt kind of down and dirty, and I really liked that. I liked that it had this had like a bluesy vibe to it, but I thought like we could get real sexy with it. And the band wasn't fleshed out yet, so I really didn't know who was going to be playing what or what instrumentation we were going to have. But I knew it was something I kind of put on the back burner. It was something I kept bringing up at practice, and it just wasn't hitting until the last writing session. And that's when I picked up a baritone guitar, ended up playing it in that tuning, and then Tucker started to play around. Of course, Tucker will play drums on the record, and he started to kind of give it more of like a swing, and that immediately opened my head up to where the vocals needed to sit and how it needed to be played and how it needed to be sung. And so it was one of those things where it was like the first song written ended up becoming one of the last songs finished. And then once I heard it all back, I was like, oh my God, this is maybe the sleaziest, sexiest song we've ever written. Where does it fit on the record? I don't know if it does. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's this is one of those that didn't come easy, it didn't come quick. But yeah, but it came.
There you go. Well, cool. Let's give about 30 seconds of it a listen, and hopefully Twitch won't mute us for it. But yeah, let's check it out real quick. Very cool.
But one of my favorite things about that song too, by the way, is Kaylee Goldsworthy playing B3 on that, and I feel like those verses are some of the like it gives me like a very Portishead type vibe, which I've always been searching for, and yeah, that steals the show for me.
Definitely,
it's her playing on that record.
I think the riff really worked out nicely in the end. Might have taken a few tries to get there.
But see, if you feel that pickup, that
absolutely,
it's not just like straight in there pushing it. It kind of gives it a little bit more of a swing to it, a little bit more of a feeling. It's like, oh man, all right, that's where we need to be. And it's something as simple as that sometimes, where that unlocks everything. You just got to be kind of conscious to pick up on what
absolutely
those changes are.
Gives a little bit of a groove. And next up, we got Sewer Wolf, which is a very different song. But
very different, yeah.
Still has some similarities in there, I think.
Well, again, the baritone comes into play, and with that song, that was one of those things where it started out as just a joke, really. Like it was a riff that Tucker and I were playing, and he showed up early one day. We were just kind of jamming out, and it was like what's the most like kind of boneheaded, like toughest. Like beat down hardcore thing you could play, and it started to like kind of take shape and come into like more of like a weird like Danzig-y, like almost like down, like it felt like had those types of vibes to it, right? Like almost like stoner, like doom elements to it, and it was so much fun to play that we started to we would just play on it, and as more people would come down the stairs because like when we would do writing sessions, everybody would stay at my house. And you wake up, I get the kids off to school, and then everybody would start to trickle down from their rooms, and we would have breakfast and talk, and then make a pot of coffee and come down here and start playing. So as people would trickle down, some people started bringing different elements to the songs, and that was a song that the more we would play it, the more we would laugh, but the laughter turned from being a joke to just being so fun. We were laughing because it was so fun to play, but still the question arose of like, well, is it us? Is this something we can pull off? And I think the more we played it, that question started to hold less and less water. I was like, I don't care if we can pull it off. If we believe in it, we can do it, kind of thing. And there's a bridge section to that song that came about that felt very Shudder to Think, and I think that's what really kind of, I don't know, maybe pieced everything together and made it more in our realm. and it's so fucking fun to play, man. It's it's unlike anything else I think I've ever written, and I think that's why I like it so much. Yeah.
Absolutely. Let's give it a listen.
On the day I was born, the sky shadowed and waved. You best believe it was something to see, baby. Savior, born sinner, delivered as flesh. And I took my first the overall shook. I'm graced by disgrace, I put rats in the place that they're barking like dogs while we're held in like fools. I come alive, falsified.
Very cool. You know,
Thanks,
I
man.
I hear the Danzig vibes. I almost feel it's a little bit like if The Cure did a hardcore album.
Whoa.
You know?
I'll take that compliment, and I want to fucking hear that record. Yes.
I do
definitely.
too. But I remember listening to that for the first time. There's some Cure in here, which, you know, is not that different from Danzig when you get right down to it. But you know,
All right. Yeah,
different
okay.
elements of the same thing. And then,
It's
sorry,
it's it's mixing two of my favorite things that you're like, oh, does this go together? I'm not sure. Let's see. It's like a fluffernutter. Basically.
exactly.
You know what I mean? Does this shit really work? Should this be given to people like for consumption? Who cares? It's delicious.
Exactly. On paper, who knows? Okay, and now this is the song that I've been wanting to ask you about since I got the EP. I never would have pegged you for covering an REM song.
Oh man, really? Why?
You know, when I think shiny happy people, that's not the first thing that comes to mind when I think of your music. You know. And it absolutely works. It sounds great, but it's not at all like when I saw the name of the song, I was like, okay, is this the same? And sure enough,
Yeah.
you know, what kind of went into that? And what made you say, hey, this is the song we should cover for this EP?
Well, first, I mean, I love REM. I got to see them on the Up tour in high school, and it was one of the greatest shows ever. I I remember being a kid and hearing "The End of the World as We Know It" on the radio, and I was young, man. I was like, I mean, maybe 10, you know, and my mom took us to like this like karaoke thing, and this I feel like karaoke was new to at least it was new to my existence. I had never heard of it before. I didn't know really what it was, and she was like, "Oh, you have to pick a song and then get up there and sing it." And I was like, "I have to?" She's like, "Oh yeah, you have to. Like if it's the first time at karaoke, apparently you have to." I was like, "Oh okay. I'm 10, right?" Like, so I looked through the book and I saw. I was like, "Oh, REM or I Know the World Doesn't Know It." I love that song, and so yeah. Picture a 10-year-old trying to get up there and sing that fucking song. It didn't end well. So, you know, I was scarred by it. I was like, you know, covering REM is not a good thing for me.
So this
again,
is decades in the making. Then that, you know,
I've been trying to get there. But no, you know, it's funny. I love REM. I don't think there's an REM song that I don't fuck with. And so when we started touring with Dave Hawes and the Mermaid, we met Kaylee Goldsworthy, of course. She was playing in the Mermaid, and we were talking about all the instrumentation that she played in that band, because you know she would get on the melodica, she would play keys, she played guitar. I think at one point she might have done like a bass thing, but I mean she was all over that stage and played everything impeccably, and of course her voice as well. So we were talking about the things that she played, and she was also like, "Oh, and I play mandolin as well. I brought it with me, but we don't play that song very much." And it started somehow got into the conversation of what song she would love to play on mandolin, and she brought up "Losing My Religion." I was like, "I love that song. I want to cover that song." And so it was like one of these things like we're gonna do it one day. And sometimes that's just one of those things that you say, but you never actually do. You know. The end of that tour came around though, and we found a little stairwell at the club that we were playing that night. I think it was in San Francisco, and she was like, "We never did that song. We should do it right now." So I got the lyrics on my phone, and we did like an iPhone recording of that song, and it was one of those things where if it came out terrible, you and I would not be talking right now about this. This would just be an experience that I had and never mentioned again. But there was something magic about this recording of just her and I playing in a stairwell. And so the next tour that we were going to do, we were playing in Europe. Dave Hawes was free. We asked him if they would come join us on the tour. I got offered to do a session at BBC Maida Vale, and I knew Kaylee was going to be on tour with us, and I was like, this is the fucking time, man. We got to do that song, and we'll do it for real. And that, to me, is the spark that started Future Violence, because that's the first song that her, Evan, and I ever recorded together, and that's what we got for the EP.
That's awesome. I'm glad that you finally found a way to appropriately sing REM.
Me too. See, it's all about growth. It's just like
exactly, yeah. You know, that's like I said earlier. You look back on yourself, and you're better at it now.
There's still that 10-year-old though in me that croaks, trying to get through karaoke.
There you go. Well, let's take a listen to it.
It's bigger than you, and you are not me. The lengths that I will go to, the distance in your eyes. Oh no, I say too much.
There you go.
It would have been really funny if you had somehow found the footage of me at 10 doing.
I mean,
doing
if I knew about it, I could have looked for it.
No, that's in the vault, my friend.
Just have to search for everyone. Was anyone there at karaoke?
Oh man, I'm sure if you got to search like the catalog of E-Bombs World or something.
There you go.
Yeah.
And then we're on to the last song. Record Ender seems like an appropriate song to end on.
It's apropos, isn't it?
Yeah.
We did debate, like, wouldn't it be great if this started a record, you know? But yeah, it's a little too clever, I guess. It's funny when you're writing songs, especially like say like in the Future Violence, you're writing this grand scope of songs, and I don't feel like that band stopped writing because we ran out of things to say or ran out of music to write. It was just kind of like recordings happening here, so we got to stop, you know. And it's funny, I was still writing in the studio. Like there was a couple of songs that if we had time, we could have done more. But when you're writing this larger scope, you tend to have these like siblings that come about. And I feel like Record Ender had a sibling in a song called 24 Karat Lush that made the record Barriers. And I was having a hard time because I didn't see those two songs coexisting on the same record if it was just a single LP. If it was a double record, then I think things could have been a lot different. But the fact that we had to cut it down for a record that allowed 14 songs on the record, and we saved the leftover 3. Record Ender, though, was one of those songs that I mean, I still had regrets about and wondered if I had made the right decision, you know, because there was something so special about that song, and I felt like it meant a lot, you know, and to have that never see the light of day was one of those things that weighed on me. So, if for nothing else, I think this EP was one of the things of setting the record straight with Record Ender.
Absolutely.
And this song's, you know, it pays tribute to I think, you know, the time around like, you know, late 90s, stuff that was coming out, like bands like Mineral and Knapsack, and it pays a nod to like a lot of that Jade Tree scene that was going on. And what I love about this song too is the first line. It's only raining on my side of town. That first half of that line, "It's only raining," was a line that my friend John McGuire had written in our first high school band, and we put it on a T-shirt. and I don't know if it was that line that actually made any of the songs, but it was something that reminds me of him and of that band and of that time. And this particular T-shirt that was like a picture of a girl holding like an angel, and it just said the band name and "It's Only Raining." It was like the most emo thing you could possibly think of, like that high school sadness. And this song, starting it with that line, just like I thought that was really amazing to kind of call back on that band, because that kind of started everything for me. And now this is the last song that the Future Violence ever recorded, was Record Ender, and it might be one of my favorites that we did. So
very cool. We'll take a quick listen. I was gonna say I waited to get to that line to make sure that we got it in there. Cool. Well, we've only got about 5 minutes left. We've had a ton of people drop questions in the Twitch chat, so let's get to as many of them as we can in 5 minutes.
All right, quick fire, go.
All right. What's with the whiteboard behind you?
Oh, that's where I put like song structures and album titles and song titles, all that kind of shit.
Are there any plans for Leathermouth merch or reissues?
Well, we did the LP reissue, that was the first time I ever hit vinyl, and we did a shirt with that. I could probably do another Leathermouth shirt or so.
There you go. Is there a Kiss song you would cover?
Oh man, I don't know. I don't think everyone wants to hear me do Kiss. I feel when you hear Kiss, you want to like. A Kiss song needs to be played by Kiss.
Right, you want Kiss. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which Hogwarts house would you be in?
I have no idea.
Are you still releasing
By
the
the way,
photography
that shit's
book?
not real, so...
There you go.
Go ahead.
Are you still releasing your photography book?
Oh, man. I would like to. Yeah.
What's your best on-stage memory?
Best on-stage memory. It's playing Starland Ballroom in Sayreville. I think we were might have been opening for Against Me, and my kids came out and sang Joyriding with us.
That's awesome. How do you feel about the fashion impact that you've made in music and the emo scene?
The what impact?
The fashion impact that you've made. Your visual appearance.
Is that a thing?
I guess so. I mean,
I feel
According to Samuel the Great.
blindsided by it. Yeah.
What bands would you describe as the violence scene?
The violence scene?
That's the question from Ella Killjoy Kate.
I don't know.
Okay,
Sorry.
that's okay. What was the moment that you made it big, that you knew you made it big?
My grandfather called me and told me that they announced my birthday in the Trentonian newspaper.
There you go. That is quite the big deal.
He thought he was very excited about it.
What's your favorite story behind the tattoo?
I don't know. They all have like a moment in time kind of thing. I feel like even the ones that don't end up being the best ones are kind of my favorites. I don't know. I feel like it's one of those things where this is a very strange cycle. Is that a lot of people, or maybe not a lot of people, but my cycle is I got fully tattooed because like it's almost like this armor. Some people see it as like you don't have control over a lot of things. You're kind of born into this body, and that's the final thing you have the control over is like how you decorate it. And a lot of people that do that aren't the ones that want to be the center of attention, but it's something that ends up making you the center of attention.
Right.
When you're around people that, yeah. So it's a very strange thing.
And then the last question that we have time for: what's your writing process like? Do you get sad after you write sad songs?
No. My writing process is all over the place, and things happen at inopportune times, and it's rare that I can force something, but I'm constantly writing because I feel like you have to chase. You really should chase everything, even the stuff that sucks. So I'm constantly grabbing pieces here and there. There's songs that I finished that were too sad to ever play again. But writing them doesn't make me sad. It makes me feel good to write.
There you go. That's awesome. Is there anything else that you want to add about the new EP or life in general?
God, no. No, just hey man, like if we could, I guess the sentiment should be look out for one another. Try to stay sane out there and try to stay kind. Things are gonna get better if we allow them to. And I miss a lot of you, and I hope to see the outside soon. That'd be nice.
There you go. I agree with that statement. Cool. Well, thank you so much for joining us.
It was a pleasure, Josh.
For those of you out there who for some reason have not picked up the EP yet, obviously go do that. It's available wherever you consume music. And
this is true.
We'll see you back here on Noise Pollution next week, and who knows, maybe we'll get Frank back sometime soon too.
I'm around. I don't have a lot of on my schedule.
I'm here every Monday, so.
Oh, all right. I'll just call it and fuck it.
There you go. Great. Thanks again, Frank. Take it easy, everyone.
It's a pleasure.
Until next week.